Arteta! What a strike! What a screamer! Zola! And a fantastic goal! Arsenal back in it! And here's Limpar, lines it up, finds the net. Arsenal in front.
And we're live! We did it! We're live! We are actually streaming, and I want to thank everybody who put up with what was really the single most annoying experience of my life, and that is trying to get this stream working. But we're here, and we're so appreciative. My name is Elliot Smith. You can, of course, block me on Twitter at Yankee Gunner, and I need to change the graphic at the bottom, that lower third thing, so it says block me on Twitter at Yankee Gunner. Obviously, I will change that, and I apologize, but I do need to introduce Scott. He is on Twitter @_that_crab. Hello, Scott.
Hello, how are you doing? I'm doing awesome. Yeah!
Yes, you are doing awesome. I am doing awesome. We're here, we're live, we did it. We solved, I say solved as if this is going out, but it looks from the chat like this is going out, and I am so proud and thrilled about this. Scott, let's not lean into patting ourselves on the back for what is a 47-minute delay in going live on YouTube.
We're just like Arsenal. We just ignore the first 45 minutes of whatever's going on and really, show
Bravo, my friend, bravo. All right, we're going to talk United, we're going to talk Rennes, we're going to do a player knockout. I'll explain what that is in just a little bit. But the first thing I want to do now, Scott, is I want to go ahead and talk about some of the issues that we didn't cover in the post-United pod, which you were not on. So this really gives you a chance to shine. Denis Suarez, real thing?
Exactly. He finally solved the, Schrodinger's Suarez. Is it something that's actually alive? And yes, he actually is. So it's actually amazing. He came out, he played. He was a guy wearing an Arsenal uniform. He ran around. All serious, no, I actually thought he was pretty good. He was something that Arsenal needed at the time. He was really, so Arsenal before were really trying to play the ball up to Lacazette to be able to relieve pressure. They brought on Iwobi and Suarez, and they were someone who could actually carry the ball to be able to do. He did really well being able to, put in some defensive pressure as well. So yeah, all around, not a bad performance. Not something that I'm, going to advocate, making it a permanent signing for, but yeah, good.
Good. Yeah, I thought it was good, and I'm pretty happy to see that he is like a real thing. The thing for me with Suarez, right, is that I don't know that we understood whether he filled a role for us, and I think that's because what we wanted was we wanted a winger, right? We wanted someone who could be dynamic in the attacking third, who could score for us, but I think we really saw what his role is more in this game, and that is as a ball carrier. So do you think that that's really kind of what it's about, him being a ball carrier to move it through the midfield, and that he was never intended to be that wide player that we need?
Yeah, I think so. So, I mean, it's similar to probably the Mkhitaryan role, but I don't think he quite is at the same level as Mkhitaryan. But this one, Mkhitaryan wasn't available, so we definitely needed somebody to be able to fill that role when, Arsenal decided to switch to, more of a 3 instead of the 2 up top. So I thought that he did well, being able to do that.
Agreed. I'm going to pop up another graphic here. You just continue to go. What about Lacazette? He's back for the Rennes tie. What do you think of that news?
That's pretty amazing. I can see that the Rennes coach is very, very upset about that. I actually, to be honest, I have a couple of thoughts on this. One, I think a 3-match ban for a red card in a knockout kind of tournament is a bit harsh. I could see it being a 2-match ban kind of a thing, maybe able to miss, 2 legs. But, there are just so few matches in there, and your dog is going crazy. There we go. That's quieter. I can actually hear myself think now. So I think it's definitely a harsh punishment to get a 3-match ban for a red card. So I kind of, am able to, agree with that, let him come back. I don't think it was that harsh of a foul that he got the red card. So it is probably a little bit of a fishy thing, but maybe, they wanted to keep Arsenal in there. So it benefits being one of the big teams for once.
I want you to know that my dog just went nuts at the door, and I ran out and collected a package. So everything's going great right now. I'm not in the kind of shape I used to be, in case you can't tell, looking at me. So yeah, I'm excited about Lacazette being back. So then let's do this. Let's talk about how we might line up in this game. So I put up a couple of possibilities. Here's the back four. Holy cow, I'm out of breath. Here we go. What do you think of a back four option?
back four. Let's
Yeah.
see. Let's wait for the graphics to show
Oh,
up. So
yep. Lacazette, Iwobi, Ozil, Aubameyang, Ramsey, Xhaka, Monreal, Koscielny, Socrates, Maitland-Niles, check.
Yeah, that'll probably work. I definitely think we probably want to see a back four for this because we definitely need to score goals. So I don't think that we're going to want to see a back five. I think maybe switch to that later in the game if we do go out and really tear them apart. But yeah, looking at this, yeah, I think that's about the best we can do at this point. Mustafi is not in there, so that makes me happy. Lichtsteiner is not there either, so I'm fine with that.
Okay,
All sorts
well,
of good stuff.
let's look at another possibility. Here is with a back three. Now, you might say, look, we have to rescue the game. Back three doesn't seem to be the right way to go. But what do you think of that possibility with a back three?
So I think if it's similar to, if you're able to still put in the attacking players, I think a back three can still be quite attacking. One of the things that they did against United was that Monreal really pushed up almost as a traditional fullback from the left center back position. So it was at times that we were only having a back two. So I think that would definitely work. You have Ramsey, who has the tendency to go forward. Ozil, supporting two strikers is awesome. Kolasinac is practically a winger. So I think that can be a very attacking lineup. I think Rennes is going to be sitting back and they are going to want to play on the counter. So it may not be too bad of an idea to have an extra body back there if we're going to go, especially with a Ramsey Xhaka double pivot.
Yeah, I mean, am I crazy to think that this lineup that I have on the screen right now might actually be our best way to attack them? Because, it gives us the extra bodies in the box and obviously utilizes those wide spaces that we become so dependent on?
Yeah, and I think because, you can almost see this move into almost a 4-2-3-1 kind of a thing. You can imagine Kolasinac moving up as actually playing as more of a forward, Monreal kind of pivoting over into a left back role where he's able to support from. But then, when we're actually defending, maybe he's probably more of a reserved fullback. He's not going to do the big overlapping runs as he would as a fullback, but still able to support on that side. So I think that this makes sense. It adds balance. It gives Kolasinac probably his best natural position to be able to play out of. Maitland-Niles has a little bit more support, but he still has the ability to use his recovery speed to be able to get back and help. So I think that this actually is quite good. You have both, strikers playing as strikers and not as wide players, which is also something that I really like. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is the way to go.
Yeah.
So I think that both of these are good options. I love the Ramsey in midfield. That just, even though we don't, we have three nominal attackers, because Ramsey is so good at that box-to-box role, he can do both. And that's something that I think that he really excelled at against United.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it's tough, right? Because we need a lot of goals in this game, and ideally without conceding. So, the worst situation imaginable. But, I for whatever reason, I think we have been able to attack in a back three really effectively because of how much we depend on those wing backs and because we don't naturally have wide players. So I do agree that could be the way to go. I want to transition back to the Premier League for a second before we get into a full Rennes preview and talk about your top four odds. So I'm going to pop those up on the screen right now. There you go. Manchester City not getting dragged into the top four race. Liverpool not either. But based on these odds that you have up there, Arsenal, Chelsea, United, and even Spurs in it, talk us through what you mean with average sim points, XG difference, and top four percentage.
All right, so that's basically just the average points that during the simulations that they come out with. So I run the simulation 10,000 times, so it goes through and it simulates the rest of the season, every match. It writes down how many points or how many goals were scored in that match, and then it it also looks at the XG. So that's what basically the simulation model is built on. It's built on XG. It's kind of a step beyond, or a step below. So it looks at actually where shot locations happen, and then it assigns a value for those shot locations. So it's basically XG. And then it will go through and simulate a match. It'll say what was the result, how many goals were scored, how many XG was created in that match, and then it records that. So that's what those numbers mean.
Yeah, I mean, I would say ultimately, I feel pretty good about top four. If you had to put your life on it right now, who are the two you think are not going to get into the top four?
I I worry about Tottenham, as bad as that sounds, because I really don't worry about them. But I think that they are just going to start running out of gas here. They have a pretty small squad. They still have a quarterfinal of a Champions League to play. I think that they might have trouble. They have been probably the team that's overperformed the underlying numbers the most this season. So, as good as they looked early in the season, where they were putting the pressure on the top two teams, they were definitely not at that level. So I think that Tottenham might be a team that really kind of falls apart. The one thing that might give them a boost and give them something that they don't have before is that they may or may not move into a new stadium. That's been a rumor. Then I think Manchester United is the other team that isn't going to make it. They've been significantly better under OGS, but not nearly as good as what the numbers suggested previously. I actually found it quite amusing that they probably had one of their better attacking performances against Arsenal, and that was the game that they actually didn't scrape a win out of. So I thought that was actually kind of some nice karmic justice to come back against them. I think Chelsea are a team that is probably going to give Arsenal the biggest threat to the top four.
Yeah, I could see that. Well, let's do this, actually. Let's look at some of the upcoming fixtures here. So Chelsea have Everton away March 17th. I mean, you look at it, we don't play again until April 1st. It's crazy. Do you think we're at a disadvantage in the fact that Chelsea have 2 games and United and Tottenham both play, and we could be in 6th before we play Newcastle again?
It's tough. So, that game in hand thing always makes it a little bit tough, and that's what Chelsea have right now too. So it's tough to remember that they could be pretty much even on points with everybody right now, where they have a game in hand, so they've played one less than everybody. Arsenal are going to go for a warm weather training camp. It looks like they're going to go to Dubai. Get some work in there, play a friendly, so they can maintain a little bit of that match sharpness. And I think it's also good because we are going to be going through, I think, was it 2 weeks where we played 3 matches basically every week. So I think that'll be a nice little break, give everybody some time off, get some warm weather training, get a little friendly where we can, play 1 match instead of 2 compared to our rivals and still maintain things. So I don't think it's going to be in a bad spot. I don't think it also will be too bad to basically have a game in hand, because then what you need from those kinds of things. It's like going second on penalties. It's always nice to know what you need to be able to match your opponents.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I mean, as you see, as we scrolled through there, the nice thing is Spurs' next game is at Liverpool. If they don't win that, then they're really in the shit. And then the wheels can properly come off, and they still have to go to Manchester City. So I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't work out for them, and that would be hilarious. But I don't think we should start dreaming of St. Totteringham's Day just yet. So let's do this. I want to go ahead and do a game. We'll play a little game here. We'll play a little team knockout. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some pairings up on the screen. Scott, what we're going to do is you have to pick one and the other leaves Arsenal. Now, I realize some of these players are leaving Arsenal, some of these players aren't leaving Arsenal, but I'm going to make you pick. So in other words, we're going to go through the team. You can only keep one. You're going to have to pick. So here's what we're going to do. I'll bring up the first one. Ramsey and Ozil. One's going, one's staying. This is player knockout. You only get to keep one. Which one you keeping? You're going to keep Ozil. Okay. You ready for the next one? I kind of teased it. Aubameyang, Lacazette. Who you got? You're keeping Aubameyang. Go on. Defend yourself. You're keeping Aubameyang.
Again, I'm picking the guy with the elite skill that is basically something that you cannot get from somebody else. I really think that Lacazette is a really, really good player. But part of the thing is he's a kind of a jack of all trades guy. He doesn't really have a pure elite skill where he is unmatched in Europe. Aubameyang is just so good at getting into good goal-scoring opportunities. He's got elite speed, not just top end speed, but his ability to accelerate is probably among the top in Europe as well. So I think that's something that I go with. His finishing can leave you frustrated at times, but I go for elite skills.
It's crazy.
Hard to replace.
I mean, on like all the advanced scoring metrics, he's right behind Aguero for the top of the league. I mean, he's one behind him in goals. He's a sliver behind him in XG 90. His chance, the chances he's had this season are incredible. Look, the two big misses against Chelsea and the penalty miss against Spurs, that's hard to look past, but creating chances at a really high rate is a really important skill, and he's exceptional at it. So, you ready for the next one?
I'm ready.
Guendouzi Torreira. One goes, one stays.
A higher floor. He's a little bit more of that finished product. He's been able to show that he is good enough for this level, and he still has the ability to get better, but I think that he has something that I'm looking for. I like Torreira.
You like Torreira?
That's a tough one.
For me, I'm tempted to take Torreira because it's a position we've struggled with for so long, right? So you just say it took us a decade to get a guy in who could do this job. And
it looks like my audio when we do the half and half goes away.
Oh no, the graphics.
Yeah, so
this one.
Here we go.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, guys. All right.
Yeah, you got to remember to
learning all the time. Got to put an NDI source in there. Okay, that's fine. And
all right, so I did take Torreira over Guendouzi. So let's flash the picture up, and then I can talk about it a little bit more.
Okay.
Going forward.
So here's what we'll do. There we go. Now that should work. Let's try it again. Let's put the graphic back up. Be professional here. Can everybody hear you now? Let's see. Wait, no, they're not going to hear you yet. That's okay. We'll put Gwen and Tor up there, and now they can hear you.
All right. Yeah. So like I was saying, that nobody heard. So Elliot will hear me say this again. So one of the things that why I'm taking Torreira over Guendouzi is because I believe he's a little bit more of a finished product. We've all seen young players come in, really excel, but not able to take that next step. So Torreira has already kind of gone through that. He's that 3 years older, so he's still a young player and has that ability to improve. Maybe he doesn't have quite the same ceiling as Guendouzi, but I think that his floor is higher. We already know what his minimum level is, and I think that is something that I am willing to bet on. I think Guendouzi, while I really like him, I think he's been amazing this season. I think that's just a little bit higher risk, and I'm going to take Torreira.
Yep, and then again, Lacazette and Aubameyang. You took Aubameyang. You want to run through that one more time?
Yeah, so I took Aubameyang, and the reasoning behind it is because I go for elite skills, kind of is what I'm looking for. I think Lacazette is a really good player, a great all-around, but he doesn't have any one particular skill that really kind of puts him on top of other strikers in Europe right now. Aubameyang does. He has the elite skill of getting onto the end of chances and being able to find space to be able to get into good chances. So that's something that, you look at XG per 90 or, his XG per shot, and he is almost always at the top of the list. So that is something that I think is really hard to replace and something that strikers can control and something that I really, really, really like. Not to say that I don't like Lacazette, but I think Aubameyang, just for that skill alone, is someone that I'm going to keep.
Let me ask you a question. Why do you hate Lacazette? Why do you hate Lacazette?
I just don't.
It's
like
a fair
French people.
question. You don't like what?
I don't like French people. Apparently, I don't like Guendouzi either.
Jeez, coming in hot, Scott. You didn't pick Guendouzi. You didn't pick Lacazette, and now we realize that. So you're not a Francophile. What would the opposite be? A Francophobe?
Yeah, Francophobe.
Francophobe. Where does that come from? I mean, we had Arsene Wenger as manager. Why would you be a Francophobe?
I know all the the elite French talent that's come through Arsenal.
Thierry Henry, Patrick
I'm
Vieira,
yeah,
Koscielny. You hated them all? Barca, Sanya, Clichy.
Murica.
Yeah, Murica. Oh boy, let's not go down that road. But seriously, I mean, the age thing doesn't convince you at all?
It definitely does, and you're giving me a Sophie's choice here. I can only pick one guy. I want them both.
But neither are your baby.
No.
So it's not that much of a Sophie's choice. All right, you ready for the next one?
I'm ready for the next one. Am my audio going to stay with the next one?
Who knows? Let's see.
We'll see.
Maitland-Niles and Iwobi.
Maitland-Niles or Iwobi. I think I'm going to go with Iwobi. I don't know if my decision is based on similar to what it was between Guendouzi and Torreira. So I'm picking Iwobi because we've seen him excel at this level for now, 3 seasons. So he may not ever turn into an elite player, but he's somebody that definitely looks like he fits in at the Premier League. He is somebody that I think deserves to be in a squad on the top 6 team. He may not be a starter for all of the players, and Maitland-Niles just hasn't shown that yet. Maitland-Niles has all the tools in the toolbox to be able to get at that level, but he hasn't done it yet. So I am going to take, the little bit more of the sure thing, the higher floor, even if it is possibly coming with a lower ceiling.
How high are you on Iwobi?
I still think Iwobi could get to a better player. I don't know if he's ever going to be an elite creative player. I don't think he's ever going to be more than he might get to 10 goals, at his absolute best. But I think he's going to be, a 7 goal, maybe 6, 7 assist kind of guy. But he is a guy that links play so well. He does have good dribbling ability. He's really good at doing those pre-assists that I love and that stats people really, kind of appreciate. And I think that Arsenal fans can start to appreciate, that we have that, we're a little bit more classy, not just, guys to get on the score sheet. So I think that Iwobi can be, a very important part of Arsenal going forward.
Okay, this one's a little bit difficult because it's projecting, but Mavropanos and Holding.
There's just I don't have enough data on Mavropanos to be able to make a decision there, so I'm going to go Holding, just a guy that I've seen a few more times. I've been pretty impressed with him. So he's a good player. I don't think that he's quite as good as he showed earlier in the season or made it kind of seem that he was. Mm-hmm. But I think that he is definitely a solid person to have in the back line. I never feel uncomfortable. I think his passing could probably use some improvement, but he seems to be a pretty solid defender. So I think Holding is probably the guy that I go with.
Amazingly, people want to hear your opinion again because when I don't put you on mic, apparently people don't know what you're saying. So
now I have to remember all the things that I said.
Ramsey Ozil.
Ramsey Ozil. I picked Ozil, and the reasoning was similar to when I picked Aubameyang versus Lacazette. I believed that Ozil has elite creative ability and that is pretty much unmatched in Europe. On his day, he can be the best player on the pitch. And even when he isn't, on his best, he can still create, do a pass that nobody else can actually kind of match. So that's something that I go for. I want somebody that has a skill that is elite. And while Ramsey is really, really good, especially for a midfielder, he is so good at getting into the box, creating shots. There are other midfielders that can do similar things to him. So this was probably the hardest one that I've had of the choices here. So it's tough. I feel bad for Aaron, and I'm gonna love watching Juve with him on the team next year.
Are you loving looking at Ramsey there? I mean, Ozil there.
Yeah,
he's a handsome man.
He is. Yeah, he definitely is. I think Ramsey's probably slightly more handsome.
Yeah,
if we're being honest.
All right. Well, let's talk Rennes again.
All right.
For me. How mind-boggling is it that we got a decision to go our way and that Lacazette is back? I mean, I couldn't believe it. Like, we got a decision from UEFA.
Yeah, so I think that we're finally benefiting from being a big team. So when we were in the Champions Leagues all those time, we were a big team, but we weren't the biggest team. We weren't one of the favorites to win. Yeah. So all of the decisions that were marginal went against us. But now that we're in the Europa League, we are one of the favorites for the actually winning it. So UEFA wants to keep that big team in. So we're going to get those, questionable calls to go our way. So don't look that gift horse in the mouth, trying to, rationalize why it happened. Just accept it and be happy.
Yeah. The thing that's so interesting to me is that, like, there's a part of me that thinks this has to complicate Emery's life a little. Like, he surely was not expecting to get him back. And I think you can make an argument, United game aside, that we've looked really good with one up top. And I'm sure in his mind he was thinking, all right, I'm going to go Mkhitaryan on one side. Do I go Ramsey and Ozil? Do I bring Iwobi in? Assuming Mkhitaryan can play. I know he did train, right? So, we might have him back. But now he's got Lacazette and Aubameyang. Do you think there's any hesitation in his mind where he's thinking, gosh, we attacked so well before we went down to 10 with just the one up front, just Aubameyang. Maybe I stick with that despite Lacazette's availability, or do you think he goes right to the two strikers then?
That is a tough question, and this is why being a manager isn't always as easy as we'd like it to be, because anything he's doing is going to get second guessed. At the end of the match, if Arsenal don't win, if say we only score, if we only win 2-1, and he goes with the one striker, he's like, well, why didn't he bring two strikers in? If he puts both people out there and Arsenal kind of look insipid, not being able to actually, maximize the two of them because they are both, one of them's going out wide and that's not really where they're best, and we don't have the balance in the team, then he's going to be, second guess saying, well, why didn't he start one and bring in, Mkhitaryan, who gives more balance to the team? It's a tough, you can make arguments both ways. They looked so good against United, but part of the thing I think that made them look so good against United is that they were looking to hit on the break. They let United have more of the ball, and I don't think Rennes is going to be, wanting to get sucked into that because they are defending a lead. They probably are going to be very cautious going forward. They're not going to commit people going forward at all. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works. So I am almost kind of wanting to see just one striker. I've kind of talked myself into it now.
Yeah, I like us with one striker. I like the balance we have, and I think we've looked better. Southampton, Bournemouth, the first 30 minutes against Rennes. But I think if you need goals, and there are really only two guys you trust to get you goals, you can overthink this shit, right? You put on your two guys who can get you goals. That would certainly seem to be the way to do it. I am being told, and I just realized that Socrates is banned. So if you looked at my, my fancy,
so we're gonna have Mustafi.
Yeah, fancy. No, oh no.
It's true. Yeah, it is. Oh no.
Is it time? All right, I guess it's time. I didn't want to have to have him on the show, but. Hello, Shodran. How you doing? I'm back on top. Back on top, Elliot. Okay, Shodran. So, with no Socrates, do you expect to come back into the team? Well, I'm always ready to dive in two-footed, to pull, drag, and kick, to jump in, to do whatever the manager asks of me, but often even what manager doesn't ask of me. Oh, that's great, Shodran. We're really excited about it. Do you have any response to the rumors that the Arsenal crest, the cannon, was actually going to be edited to show an image of you being fired into the sun? Oh, well, if I'm fired in the sun, I will obviously, dive in at it best I can and see if I can't maybe make contact with sun. Otherwise, your son gets in behind and maybe scores goal. Yeah, that's not how astronomy works, but I appreciate that, Shodran. So, do you think that you can do a job? We can't really give up goals. We should be attacking a lot. Do you think you can keep it safe at the back? Yeah, I don't see what Rennes has that can trouble us. Only scored the 3 goals first leg. So I feel real good about coming in, diving in on Sarr if he tries to come in box, maybe slide out of way and get good view of watching other defenders try to cover for me. Yeah, that's great, Shodran. You have anything you want to say in conclusion there, to anybody watching? Yeah, always back on top. Back on top. Back on top. Okay. Okay. Too close, Shodran. All right. Get him away. All right. That was Shodran Mustafi. Scott, any thoughts on his contribution there?
I really hope he 2-foots Ben Arfa just to make it funny.
Yeah. You want to go down to 10 men? Do you think he'll start?
Do I think Ben Arfa is going to start for Rennes?
No.
Oh, Mustafi? Yeah, I probably, because what other center back is going to be there? Or is it going to be if we do with a 4. Is it going to be Monreal, Koscielny, or is it going to be Mavropanos, or what are we doing here?
I would think that we could go Koscielny and Monreal. We probably won't do that. Is there another option? Is there a way we can get away from Mustafi? We could go Maitland-Niles, Koscielny, Nacho, and Kolasinac. I mean, it's doable. Do you think that our feelings about Mustafi maybe now finally match the manager's feelings about Mustafi, or do you think that is that's a projection that he still has faith in the guy?
I honestly don't know. It's so tough. It really, I want to project, my own feelings. I want everybody to, be as frustrated with Mustafi as I am. And I think that is slowly being the case. But I think just because of the defensive crisis that we have so few center backs to choose from, that even if he doesn't trust him, he almost has to use him.
Yeah, I don't see how he can. I mean, how can he use a defender he doesn't trust? Like how, look, he's become a subject of ridicule. But in these games where he hasn't played, oh no, are you gonna
getting requests to put the crazy crab in at center back?
Crazy crab?
There we go.
Can we leave the puppeteering here to the guy who embarrasses himself regularly for a living? Seriously though, in these games he hasn't been in, haven't you just had a feeling? Not that we were solid at the back necessarily, but that there was some level of seriousness about what we're going to do, that you didn't believe someone at any moment was just going to hit the self-destruct button?
Yeah, that is actually nice to be able to look at the back, the defensive line, whether it's the back 3, 5, 4, and be able to, trust that, these guys kind of have it. You mentioned this on the podcast before, and that's one of the things that I really actually liked about Maitland-Niles is he isn't a guy that's going to go to ground and if he misses the tackle, leave himself fully exposed and begging everybody else to bail him out. So he stands up with somebody, he runs with them, he tries to put in a tackle standing, but even if he doesn't get that, he's still there. He doesn't have to, scramble and try to get back up. He stays with them, and that actually was quite nice. So, he had a bit of a struggle in that first half, but in that second half, he really grew into the game, and that was something that I was very impressed with. And when Mustafi was on that right, he just every time something bad is potentially happening, anytime he goes down that side, and because he's so, if he misses one of those spectacular tackles that he makes, it is just total chaos. And that's why he can be a 3 performance or he can be an 8 performance, because if those come on, it's awesome. He made great tackles. It saved everything. If it misses, well, it's now a 3-on-3 or a 3-on-2, and he's putting his partners on a ton of risk.
Yeah, I just feel like for me, he makes the mistakes that cost you the game, right? I mean, look, we're never going to be super solid defensively, but there's a point at which you just say the ability for this one player to make the one decision that costs us the game repeatedly isn't worth, whatever value he brings. Because you can say, all right, look, he's an 8 out of 10 defender a lot of the time. Well, that doesn't count, because if every game you do one thing that gives away a big chance, you've already totally undermined your presence. Like, I'd rather have a Nacho Monreal who may be totally washed, who doesn't run very well anymore, but who is going to be professional and switched on. And, I say that, and of course he cost us the 3rd goal in the Rennes game. So maybe I'm talking out of my butthole as usual. But, I think in general, I want a guy who I trust not to do something selfish and stupid. I mean, when you look at what he did against Spurs, Scott, that's the kind of thing that to me summarizes Mustafi, right? Just a decision that impacts the game in a massive way that doesn't need to be made, that's almost inexplicable.
Yeah, so it's whenever he gets put under pressure, his number one instinct is kind of to freak out and either push somebody, kick somebody, go to ground and try to, make something spectacular happen. But almost everything, it takes him out of the play. So he's either going to do something amazing, but he's on the ground, so he can't really do anything else after he's made that play, or he's going to take himself out after going to the ground, or he's going to foul a player, and it's going to be a dumb foul in a very important situation. So it's anytime he has to make a fast decision, he really panics, and it sucks, because he does everything else. I trying to be as fair as possible to him. His passing is pretty good. His normal defending, not bad. It's just when he is put into a pressure situation, which being an Arsenal defender is going to happen regularly. You're going to have 2 or 3 situations like that a game, and he just doesn't put up with it right.
Yeah, he doesn't handle those situations right. So look, enough about him. I mean, final verdict. Do you think he starts or not?
I would say that he probably does, because there's really not an option on the bench that I think is a better alternative that Emery trusts. Is he going to put a kid out there in that situation when Arsenal, are going to be, pushing forward, and we're going to need, guys to be able to make defensive, actions to be able to cut out counterattacks. So it's not going to be great, and he's going to have 2 or 3 probably decisions that he's going to probably come down to, and it's going to suck.
It is going to suck. Yeah, I mean, and I look, I'm not trying to be super negative, but I just feel like he is a kind of player that if he's on the pitch, I worry, about what mistake he's going to make that costs us the game, and I think you don't want to be in that situation with your central defender. So as we look forward to that game, I mean, you've done some projections. I've got them on the screen now. What do you see in terms of Arsenal v Rennes? Now I see you have a 1-goal difference as the most likely, 24%, 2-goal difference, 21.3%, odds of winning, 65%, goals scored. That's the one I want to look at. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead and try this live. Let's just do this. Actually, no, you know what? I'm going to put me back up on the screen with you so I can do that out there. With that graphic that we're seeing or about to see, the one that really interests me is where you have goals scored. What does your projection say there? And I'll pop that up.
So Arsenal are going to score goals. I'm, pretty confident of that. They're at home, where Arsenal are really match up with just about anybody. When you look at their home numbers, they're almost as good as Liverpool and City at home. The only thing that has been unfortunate for them this season is when they go away, they look like an upper mid-level team or an upper mid-table team. So that's something that I think is pretty important, that we have the home match. I think that, getting 3 goals shouldn't be too hard. It'll be a matter of keeping, them to either, a clean sheet or, just giving up 1 goal. So 1 goal for Rennes is the most likely outcome. Unfortunately, the most likely outcome for Arsenal is 2 goals. But I think if Arsenal are able to get a goal early, maybe in that first 15 minutes or so, I think that really turns the tie, puts pressure on Rennes to actually, defend, a little bit harder, maybe even try to score, leaving some more spots. And I think that if Arsenal can do that, I think that they will win the tie. If they don't score in that first half, I think it's going to be really advantage Rennes. So I think overall, I had a 37% chance for Arsenal to go through in this match. I think most of that was in regular time, and I think there was a somewhat a fair chance. I think it was like a 1 or 2% chance for it actually going into extra time. So hopefully that's not the case.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's look. This is not an easy situation by any means, but I definitely think it is a recoverable situation. And I think, to your point, the key to recovering it is getting the early goal, right? I mean, that's really it. Putting them in a situation where they kind of panic. So,
yeah, because I think if you watch the Champions League yesterday, that's exactly what Juve did to Atleti. They basically just came out from the very beginning and just peppered their goal, put pressure on them over, early. I think they got a goal at like 15 minutes or so. And from there, you could just see the little bit of the panic levels went up. And I think that's what Arsenal need to do in this match as well.
Okay, so let's get off the fence here. Let's do some predictions before we say goodbye. Before we do that, I want to just say, for me personally, obviously it is a learning process, what we're doing here, trying to do this YouTube live stuff. And I think it's a fun way to add more things that we can do. Admittedly, I'm trying to concentrate on all this graphic stuff and chatting and make sure everything's working, starting on time. Clearly don't have that one down yet, although I'm not sure anyone's surprised by that. But I do want to say, we appreciate it. And like, I am really thankful that we have any of you here watching it all, and these videos will be available later and can be watched later, which is probably easier than trying to set your watch by whatever our timing is. But, for my part, I'm really sorry that we had to boot Paul. He seems to be the source of all technical glitches, so I'm going to just pin this on him because he's not here to defend himself. But we'll have him on. Clive has said he would do it as well. Tim, I am hopeful we will drag him into this morass as well. But so, obviously, thank you for putting up with us. And Scott, I mean, you do a lot of great graphics work and tech work and stuff like that. And so I do think a lot of blame for this not working immediately falls on you as tech support. Do you have anything to say for yourself in defense of that?
I'm sorry. We'll do better.
I mean, we can't guarantee we'll do better content, but we'll do better at, like, putting it on the internet, right?
Making it available, yes.
Yeah,
that is definitely something that will happen.
Yeah.
Can't guarantee it'll get better, but it'll be available.
No, we can't guarantee that. All right, so I'm gonna go for 4-1 to the Arsenal. I think we're gonna do it. I could even see 4. No, you know what? I'm gonna say 4-0 to the Arsenal. I think
you're stealing it.
Yeah. I'm gonna say 4-0 to the Arsenal. I mean, it just feels like it's bound to happen. If it doesn't work out, given that we just beat United, given that we're now favorites, over 50% odds for top 4, how big a blemish is this if it doesn't happen? I mean, if we don't get through, let's do this. Prepare the reaction, right? Because right now we're all feeling good. We had a good game against Spurs. We beat United. Like, what's the reaction? What level of grab the pitchforks like the torch is it going to be if we go out to Rennes tomorrow, at the Emirates, having thrown the first leg away?
Man, so I think now, because of the position in the league, if Arsenal do go out of the Europa League, it's not nearly as bad as it seemed a couple weeks ago. Especially because Tottenham are imploding. Arsenal are already in 4th place, so they controlled their destiny. So, they can really, if they win out, it guarantees top 4. They don't need to do that to be able to get into top 4, but they have that ability to where, they're not dependent on other teams slipping up any longer to be able to stay in the top 4. So I think that if they don't make it, they go out there, they show, fight and everything like that, and they, maybe they come up short. It's not the end of the world. It would, I wouldn't be happy with it, but that would, have the silver lining of, we don't have at least 2 more matches coming up, and we can, rest and really focus on the league, where we have a good run where we really can go on a run. And I think it's definitely possible that Arsenal can get, 18 to 20 points out of the last 24. And really put themselves into a really strong position, to finish in the top 4 without any issues, without depending on other people messing up. So it's not as bad as it could have been a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, right? You want it to be a situation where, like, people will take this in stride because top 4 is such a good situation. I don't know if in the moment people will feel that way, because going out in the round of 16 of the Europa League to Rennes will feel so terrible. It is fair to say, though, right, that, like, look, well, I'll say, put it in my words. I would rather win the Europa League, I think, than finish top 4. Because at the end of the day, it is a European trophy. Now, it's kind of a crap European trophy, but it's a trophy. It's a final. It's a big day out. It's a big moment of celebration. Top 4, realistically, is the better thing for the club, right? I mean, long term, that's the better thing for the club.
Exactly. So, I mean, if Arsenal don't make top 4 and win the Europa League, there is still quite a bit of a monetary difference in there. So yes, they make the Champions League, but they also don't get I believe the TV pool money for the group stage as if you get in on the Europa League only. So that is something that there is. I think it's probably close to a 20 million euro difference between the two. So there is a big difference between qualifying for the league and qualifying through the Europa League winner. So that's something to keep in mind. As all Arsenal fans are accountants now, so we all know about how things affect our budgets going forward.
I've heard it said that money makes the world go round. So then, in terms of those top 4 odds, I mean, this is a cool kind of chart because it shows likelihood expressed by, like, outlying possibility and regular possibility. Can you put that into human words that make sense? What we're seeing here, the tails bar graph thingy.
The tails one. All right, so it's called the box and whisker. If you remember back to your high school statistics.
Coincidentally, the box and whisker also the move that made my wife fall in love with me. So
there we go.
You use it for stats. I have another approach.
So what this one is showing, so I actually have, so the boxes represent the upper and lower 50% finish of. So I have Arsenal, between 69 and just under probably 76 points as the most likely occurrence for the team. And then the top is the 95th percentile and the bottom is the 5th percentile. So, there's a decent chance that Arsenal can get to, 80 points, but it's something that isn't going to happen super often. I think that, getting to that upper box almost guarantees you getting into the top 4, and anything above that is pretty close to 100% on that regard.
Yeah. The way I look at it right now, Spurs playing at Liverpool, at City, That's bad for them. So, I mean...
And then Chelsea and United play each other, so there is,
So
somebody's going to drop points there, and hopefully both
is
of them
draw
will
the
drop
best
points.
outcome for us in that one?
Yeah, definitely. I think so.
All right, so let's say we don't get through tomorrow. You don't think it's pitchforks time. I mean, obviously, top four.
I mean, if Arsenal lose tomorrow and it's just an embarrassment,
Yeah.
I'm reserving
see
the
that.
right to hold my pitchfork.
I can't say. I mean, ultimately, I think the great thing about tomorrow, right? If we had a game on Sunday, Emery might be like, let's say we had an away game at Everton or something, right? On Sunday. You'd have a really tricky situation. Do you go full bore to try to recover the Europa League, knowing that you're now in the driver's seat for top four? He doesn't have to deal with that, right? Because he's got the benefit of being off till April 1st. So last question. Given that we don't play again until April 1st, do you think, I think you could argue we're finding our stride, right? That we've kind of started to hit a stride. The way we played against Spurs, Bournemouth, United, Southampton, that's the best run.
And even the first 30 minutes of Rennes.
Yes.
That was,
we haven't attacked any better than that all season. The going down, I think because we were so effective attacking, we probably weren't alive to the threat when we went down to 10 men. I agree. So do you think that having all this time off, even though rest, we both, I think, would agree that rest is always a benefit, is it maybe a detriment in the instance of a team like Arsenal that's finally clicking and now doesn't play for half a month?
Well, part of it too is there's an international break in there too, so everybody else is going to lose a week where their players all fly off across the world to be able to go play games with their national teams. So that part of it isn't going to be too bad. Arsenal are going to stick a friendly in there to be able to keep a little bit of that match sharpness. And you know what, they also will have the benefit of being able to have a full week, 2 weeks of training, where we can, maybe put in some wrinkles, be able to get a little bit more understanding, be able to press a little bit better as a unit, because that's something that I can definitely say has gotten better as the season's gone on. I mean, I think that's part of the thing that's helped is that Arsenal's pressing has looked better as they've been able to, kind of gel and understand what Emery wants. And, Emery, is a guy that likes to change things up week to week. So, being able to have an extra time to be able to put in, a few wrinkles into a system, may not be bad. So I'm trying to take the optimistic side, saying that, a little bit of a break after how many matches we played in a row isn't that big of a deal. Let everybody kind of get some rest in their legs. We'll have some time to get some match sharpness with the friendly, and we'll have a lot more training time to be able to come in and finish the season strong.
Yep, I agree. And, we've got Lacazette back for tomorrow, so that is big news. I guess what we'll do is we'll say goodbye, and then we'll have a regular podcast after Rennes. I think we're going to record it right after the match, even though time changes here have meant that everything's wacky and the kickoff times don't make any sense to me right now. So we need the UK to spring forward so that I can understand the world again. Over on Patreon, by the way, we've got an In the Spotlight coming out next week. We have a Discord private chat over on the Patreon side, which is a lot of fun. We're going to do more of these, and they are only going to get better and more timely. I cannot promise the first, but I can definitely not promise the second. And so, and hopefully Paul and Tim and Clive will be involved in those, although Scott is certainly the star of the show, and we thank him for being on. So I will do the professional thing. I will bring Scott up. I will bring up his lower third, which doesn't even have his name because somehow I left it out. You can follow him on Twitter at _that_crab. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Elliot. I'm glad we were able to finally get this going.
Yeah, I am as well. And my name is Elliot Smith. You can obviously block me on Twitter, Yankee Gunner. I will change it so that the thing down there says that. But Scott gets to do the big final flourish. Scott, are you ready for the final flourish? Flourish away, buddy.
Woohoo! Yeah! Let's go.
That's not the flourish. You got to tell him what to do.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I forget. I'm totally out of sync here.
Yeah, tell him what to do, buddy.
All right. So, subscribe, hit the bell notification to let us know when we're going live and when new videos are posted. It's going to be awesome, and we won't be late 45 minutes every time. I promise that won't happen going forward.
Whoa. The former attorney has to jump in. We cannot guarantee those promises. Yeah, we cannot guarantee those promises. But yeah, subscribe, hit the bell, all the things he said. I don't know what any of those mean, but apparently they're the things I'm supposed to desperately want you to do, so please do them. So yeah, we will... by the way, we inked a new deal. Yeah, new signing. The Enclosed signed on for the balance of the year with us. So you'll be hearing about lingerie on the podcast for the rest of 2019, which I am sure is exactly what you wanted. So, hey, look, we love you. We appreciate you for being here. We look forward to talking on the regular podcast with the full crew and doing more of these and getting them right and making them more professional, or just having a hell of a lot of fun. We were going to talk transfers, but I think we'll wrap it up there. Big Champions League games today. We'll see what happens between Liverpool and Bayern. That should be the one that I think everyone's watching. So maybe we'll come on and do a little something after Champions League wraps up and talk more about that. I'd give you a time, but we'd miss it anyway. So, as always, we love you, we appreciate you, and we will talk to you after Arsenal 10, Rennes 0.